Alrighty. Testing some new equipment for y'all. Hang on. We're gonna see. Alright. 2 shakes. Relax. Okay. Back to square one. Oh. Hey, how's everybody doing? It's just me, by myself, in a box. But before we get started, I want to let everybody know that we've actually had something. All right, if this podcast is going to be a community thing, then I got to let you know about certain events that happen. Recently, a family lost their home in a fire, complete loss, and it's Jimmy and Demisha Crocker. This happened right up the road from my grandmother's house. It's a very sad thing, and if you guys can, in some way, shape, or form, my wife and I are going to start a GoFundMe to try to help them out, so as we can, as a community, help them get back on their feet, because I mean, what can you say? It's a total loss. Their house burned down. I think, fresh out of retirement. I'm not going to get too deep into their story because it's, their own lives, and it's not my privy to tell you all about it, but their house burned down, guys. So we're going to do our best to try to help them out in any way we can. I'll probably post a GoFundMe on my Facebook and share that through my actual, my personal Facebook to let everybody know about it. But we're going to do what we can to try to help them out. So if you can go and take a moment to help them, we appreciate any little bit that you could give. So, all right. I love you guys because I'm sitting here with a coffee and an empty box talking to you right after I read my kids' bedtime stories. So it's nighttime. And it's going to be a fun one. So I'm not going to start this out by just opening cans of worms or anything like that. I want to talk to you guys about the potential of this town. I want to speak to the city of Elberton as a citizen. Nothing more, nothing less. Just like you, going to work every day, doing my job, trying to make ends meet. On the world stage, there's a lot of things happening. I'm not a politician. There's a lot of people in Elberton I'd like to talk to on this podcast if I can, about some of the world events that we have going down, but bare minimum, things are going to change. We've already been through COVID. I think I started for episode 1 talking about the drastic changes we've all been through and why I wanted to start social therapy in the first place. So here we are now talking about a possible war, and our economy is on the brink of some drastic changes, and we all feel it. We all know it. What those changes are exactly, nobody can quite say yet. But nothing looks great from our perspectives. But I don't want to make this morbid. I don't want us all to be sitting around being sad listening to this about how the world's coming to an end at our, feet, and there's not a whole lot we can do about it. So we're going to talk about things that we can do. Elberton, as a community, I believe, has so much potential. And I like to look to our neighbors, Hartwell, who do what it seems from the outside in fairly well in a community standards, and not to say Elberton doesn't. Now, when I say Elberton Hartwell, everybody goes like rivalry mentality. I'm talking as an adult. We're not speaking of high school rivalries. We're talking economics. We're talking just outside in perspective, because I don't know anybody personally in Hartwell that has like pull or leeway. I know men and women that live there. All it seems to be is access to the lake and the use of that. Like, they found that thing that their city's about, and that's being right on the lake, and they push it, and they've made their downtown thriving. And we have a beautiful little downtown ourselves with people that are investing in doing more and being better inside of it. And I think that there's potential not only in our downtown, but like everywhere, honestly, guys, like literally everywhere. So I'm going to start with the things that I know the most about, or at least have the most knowledge in my own life to be comfortable enough to speak on it. And those things are like sports and athletics and associated with school and maybe education, because my mother was an educator and a coach and all these great things. The granite industry, because we're here, we're in Elberton, guys. It ain't a secret. So we all know and do granite, and there's a lot of changes that are happening and have happened. And some have been real close to home. I mean, if you work in the industries around Elberton, Georgia, you know my father, Tim Bray, and what we do and have done on his side of the family since his dad. Just make monuments, cut stone. Now, that's he and my brother who run that side of the family's business. I'm just an etcher. I work for another company entirely. So I ended up an artist. I just work on Photoshop and like draws stuff for people. But all right, I'll cut to the chase. I feel like we've pigeonholed ourselves as an industry. I don't know, like the wholesale mentality and getting as much out as quick as possible for the cheapest amount possible, and doing so since like the 70s, possibly earlier, is economic suicide, if you want my honest opinion. And I'm not an economic professor in any way, shape, or form. But when you're living in 2023, and this might not be everybody, don't get me wrong, this is just personal knowledge of like being around the industry my whole life. But when the prices of things were set for especially gray granite here in Elberton, Georgia, now I'm going to speak to the etching side and the imports and granite that doesn't come from here and a separate thing. But what I'm talking about here and now is like what we do. Elberton, Georgia, gray, blue, whatever you want to call it, is a whole nother debacle. Like what people call granite and how people try to monetize the name in some facet and make it their own, even though it's all coming out of the same holes right here in good old Elberton, Georgia. So, but try not to lose my train of thought. Let me take me a little sip of coffee and gather myself. I hope you guys are having a good day, wherever you are and whenever you listen to this. So, when you have people that are pricing things based off of 74 book or 86 book, for those outside of the lingo of what that is or what that may be, it's a pricing gauge for how much rock is per square foot or per cut or how it's shaped, sized, headstones and monuments and all that great stuff for those outside of our industry. But they're based on the year that they were created. And when I say 74, I mean 1974. I'm pretty sure my mom and dad were kids then. So, and we're still, and not everybody does that still, but we have a mindset, I feel like, that's still stuck in that way, shape, and form. We mine a mineral out of the ground that is so specific. To my knowledge, there's no granite that exists the same way that it does here in the composition and the color and the look. Just like you have Dakota mahogany or, black granite or India red or whatever the case may be. But we don't see it prospectively from my own view. This is all my personal opinion, guys. I want to reiterate that 100 times before I get all the way through this, but this is how I feel about it. We've been pigeonholing ourselves. It's just like the economy that we found ourselves in. And it's hard to argue that expenses have gone through the roof to just stay alive, but wages have not quite caught up from that from like 80s and 90s when the middle class seemed to be thriving or towards its heyday, whatever you would say. But the granite industry that we have, we want to nickel and dime ourselves when literally one step away, one sale away, there's a whole insurance company thing happening for funeral homes and monument sales companies, and they get the checks from the insurance companies. So that's why the money is so much different, where we make and sell granite at like wholesale cost of $50 and $100 for this piece of rock. And that same piece of rock then only exchanges hands one time and triples in price. But we as a community keep like, oh, if he'll do it for 95, I could do it for 90. And I hope that we can grow out of that, because and it's not a union. I don't know. Maybe it is a union. EGA is supposedly and supposed to be that. And I would like to talk to somebody at the EGA and ask them how exactly they benefit and do and what it is that they do, because I'm sure they do a lot of great work. Otherwise, there's a lot of things in Elberton that wouldn't. You see EGA everywhere. Like, it has to be doing good things. I just would like to know what all it is that they would like to do over the next 10 or 20 years that are going to keep our town from looking like West Virginia coal country. Because that's where I feel like we're all kind of headed. And I feel that way because there's outside interest. There's invested people that are not from Elberton, Georgia, that see potential in the industries that we run. Now, I'm going to get some calls about some things, I'm sure. And again, if anybody gets upset with things that I have to say, first off, I love you guys regardless of how you feel about any of the things I say. And I mean that. I don't have any ill will towards any of you. And I'm not trying to tell people how to do what it is that they do. But we, as a community, don't value ourselves the way I think that we should. And there's a lot of good people here that think that this is a place that could be great. It would take a group of us, and by a group, I mean basically all of us guys, because there's only like freaking 4,000 some of us that even live within the city limits, and like maximum 20, 30 outside of that. Again, this isn't about geopolitics and how things work. This is about us as a community. We make quality product, and for years we've been underselling ourselves. And again, unless this source of granite and style of granite and what we do is just readily available outside of this town, and I don't know anything about it, we can boost our economy. Baby steps would be 15, 25, 30% increases across the board. And then the people that are on the other side that are receiving this message, again, if I'm wrong, please call and tell me. But if you are not making the insurance money that it seems to be because I've been to these places and I've talked to people, but my experiences are out west, like Texas. So I've seen monuments that have been sold by my dad for $500, $800. They go for $5,000, $3,000, $8,000. And I watched my dad slave over that rock for a day, 2 days, to make it ornate, beautiful piece of artwork that somebody is memorializing a loved one with. And we're selling that for like nickels and dimes. And then people are making cash crop, what it seems, off of it, literally one sale off. Now, I don't know how we tap into that. I'm not trying to say that we steal people money or steal the money from people and take it directly out of folks' pockets. I just think that we're not getting the cut that we deserve. That's what I'm saying. And if I'm wrong, again, please, I would like for this to be an open discussion on my forums of like Facebook, wherever you want to talk to me. I've been disconnecting every time I post because, again, it's easier to just post ghost. I'll holler at you guys when I see you. I live in the community. I talk to, some of you, and it's so fun to like just be here in Elberton and to be where I am in life and not be worried so much about. I'll tell you guys where I get my peace right now. Before I started this podcast, I was real nervous. And the reason I'm decently good at sitting here and talking in a box is because of my ADT experience. I've had to do this before. I've had to literally sit and just record myself talking because I had to get better at knocking on somebody's door. And for the first 30 seconds, this is what it felt like. Nobody there on the other side of that knock because they didn't care why I was there, what I was doing, what I had going on. They just wanted me off of their property. And I had about 30 seconds to get out of my mouth, hey, my name is Chaz with ADT Home Securities. I hope you're having a great day. I just needed a moment of your time because I'm a blah, 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 blah. And from there, I just have to make it up and see if they would stick with me long enough to be like, what was it that you said you was here for? Because you got to get people's interest, because people hate people showing up at their front door. I hate it. Everybody hates it. But that was my job. So I had to go do it. And I got cussed out all the time. And it's all right because I built character going through it. Like, you can't hurt my feelings. There are things you can say that can get under my skin. And I have soft spots, and I have a family, and I have all these things. So trust me, I'm not infallible in just being able to take all things. But I have a pretty thick skin. So when you have people outside of our community, back to my point, that are willing to invest millions of dollars in taking this industry to a level that is becoming industrializing it in a major way. And I'm not trying to run these people off. I'd love to hear things like Matthews is pumping out $3 million a month or $3.5 million a month in granite, because that's got to be stimulating our economy in some way. There's taxes got to be coming out of that. There has to be, and there has to be coming down, and we have to be doing something with it. We'll get to all that later. I don't know anything about that yet, so we're gonna figure it out. But it seems as though there is a lot to be done in our own community, and vested interests from outside of our community are coming in and taking a mafia style approach, it feels like, to a lot of people, because they have money to throw around. They have the power. And as a guy that just works in some of these places and hears some of these people that work and, passing, that are like, yeah, man, they're trying to say we're all going to have to do this one thing in this one shed, because they're trying to look from top down. And it's not insane. It's not a terrible idea. Don't get me wrong. It's just an outside of the industry approach. You're trying to take an entire shed and say you're going to make slants, and that's what you're going to do, and that's what your entire operation is going to be about. Everybody that works in that shed is not going to want to cut slants all day, every day, and do that thing and say that that is the job that they do, because most people take pride in doing a different thing every day. Like, it's not monotonous. It's not the exact same thing every day. It is an artistry to it. It's not, it's not slave work, bro. It's not, cookie cutter. I mean, for some people, maybe it is. Maybe that's the industry that it is. But from where I'm standing, what I watched my dad do his whole life is art. It really is. It's beautiful. It's so hard. Oh my God, dude. Could you imagine having to swing an 8-pound hammer all day and cut rock? I can't. That's why I ain't doing it. Like, my brother does it. I don't know how they do it, bro. I really don't. So all of us that work that industry, especially like the hard labor portion of it, polisher, top polisher, and we have automated stuff now, so all of those that have stepped in it and never had to grab a big meal top polisher, boy, woo, you have no idea. That thing would eat you alive. And it's just, and my dad had to handle a steel one. Like, I couldn't imagine, man. So again, I watched this industry turn into something that's becoming very technologically driven, and it's cool, don't get me wrong, but we're still going to need stone cutters. We're still going to need guys that know how to do this old-fashioned work for quite some time, because we'll get back to the vested interest. Even if I think I'm using that word correctly. If not, I'm not that smart. It's okay, guys. Just hear me out. That's why I do what I do. I draw. So you can't have that kind of top-down approach, I don't think, and it work for most people, because most people are going to buck at the idea that they have a specific, like, you're going to like robot your life away. You're going to do nothing but the same mechanism all day, every day for the rest of your days, and with no pay increase, it seems. So the way that we can get around these things is like taking the quality products that we have, and everybody has to take pride in what they do. That's another thing that we have to talk about. Elberton. Yo, if you know that you can fix a problem, or if you can do a job and you don't walk away from it, don't make somebody else do it, quit passing the buck, quit. Just stop it. Everybody just quit doing that. If you know that there's an issue, let's fix it. If you know if it's irreparable, okay, eat it. If we become quality, if we sell quality, if we do quality, we get quality price. And if we get quality price, everybody makes more money for what we do. And again, there's Elberton. I want all of us to come together. I'm not saying these big people, the top-down industry, big money. If you're spending money in the industry and you want this economy to do well, so do I. I just don't want to end up feeding a board somewhere millions of dollars while my family and everybody else is eating beans with no meats, and we all sing sad songs like we're in West Virginia, because that is what will happen in my opinion, if we keep doing the things that we're doing, like nickel and diming ourselves and letting people that know more outside that there's like, hey, a very valuable mineral exists only in this place, and there's a whole community of people dedicated to snatching it out of the ground and making it even more beautiful and then putting it over people's headstones so they can memorialize loved ones for near of nothing for what it costs outside of that specific spot in the world. And everywhere else it's like double and triple the cost because they have unions and they have, you feel me? Like, it just feels like we just could do a little better for ourselves. And that's the granite industry, ladies and gentlemen, from my opinion. So this is granite as a whole. There's like, how do we perspectively put it? How do we get it across in our own minds that this is not just a rock? Like, I get it. Don't get me wrong. It quite literally is a rock, and I understand that. I'm not trying to be, I'm not writing upside down right now. I'm not trying to be crazy about this. I'm just saying that Elberton, Georgia has something specific that people outside in the world won't. It is a rock, yes, but there's 35 miles of it under Elberton, Georgia. Alone. Just Elberton. It's 6 miles wide maybe, and then 2 or 3 miles wide or deep from what we estimate. I did a little bit of math, and I'm just going to roundabout this for you guys, and somebody can check my numbers because math, I enjoy math, but I haven't done big math in quite some time. But it was like, and this is on websites, so you could check this on like EGA or something like that. It was 6 million tons. So 2 millions behind the 6. Pretty sure it was 6. Tons of granite that exist in Elberton. Now, if we looked at this mineral as if it were like gold, say we had a 6 million ton block of gold under Elberton, Georgia, we would all be doing a lot differently mindset-wise, wouldn't we? So that's not, okay, it's not gold. I get that. There is a price cap to this thing. But it is something that is valued and that we could do better with the value that we get from it outside of Elberton. And with our own in-house guys, like there's so many little sheds and mom and pop operations that still exist that need work. But we're all getting swallowed up by these bigger industries, and we're having to just eat the shit sandwich, quite honestly, and keep doing what we're told, because right now if we don't get the rock that we need, or we don't get that check. We're not going to get paid on time. People are bullying people into doing the things that they need them to do. Quite honestly, that's just bad business. It's not a good thing. It's not a great idea, because community wise we all talk, like we know who's doing what. Quite honestly, we're still that small, or at least the people that have been doing it as long as my family have do. We still communicate because we all do this one little thing in this one little town. So we're doing our best to try to make sure it survives, because I got kids and I want my kids to have a future, and that future can exist if we all are owned by somebody else that does not value our town the way we do. That's all I'm saying. So I don't know how long I've been ranting on about this. I got on a tear there for a minute. But yeah, I think, and obviously we can't mine every bit of it. The math that I did was, there's 6 million tons of it. I'm pretty sure 6 million. There was, if you did, say, a 2x1 by 5-inch marker, somewhere around a cubic foot. I'm pretty sure, like it's a volume of a square foot, 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot block. And if we sold that at like bare minimum cost of $40 for, say, a 2x1 marker, and I don't know what people are charging nowadays. I don't create granite like that. I just etch on it. Whole nother podcast I could talk about me working in Photoshop and doing laser etching and artwork and where that's gone and where it's been and how I got into it. We could talk about that later. But if we just took the amount of granite that is under Elberton and just itemized that as a stock, and we said this solid block of rock that we have up under us is worth about, I don't know, $200 million. And I know that may or be up or down on a $40 per 1 square foot volume. But again, if we just started valuing it a little bit more as if it was a diminishing thing that we're literally pulling out and making it into something better and then sending it down the road, I think that we would stimulate our economy. We'd get more tax dollars. Everybody would do a little bit better. Your sprawl boys would be making, $10, $15 an hour if they're not making that already, because they need to be upwards of 20. And then your guys that are cutting stone can be making like $45, $50 an hour. And the guys that are paying them are not balking at these things that I'm saying, because they're making 2 and 3 times the profit margins they were making the year before, because we're selling for 20 and 30% more per piece of stone that leaves. Again, I don't think it would kill anybody on the other side of the industry. I don't think the insurance companies are going to really miss that money. The people in between are going to fight us pretty hard, I'm sure, like the ones that are going to have to pay us. But it's going to, from what I understand, be a profit margin from them going from like $5,000, $6,000 profit to like $4,000 profit. That's $2,000 out of their pocket. I'm sure that's going to hurt somebody's feelings. But for our end of it, it would freaking double our economy. So let's quit playing games and let's not play greedy. Let's be honest with each other and just be like, all right, where's the value in our community? And then let's take it as a community and be like, here, world, we're going to be worth this. And then in the amount of time that, I don't know, maybe 10 years, we can really use that money to start doing a lot more for ourselves. Not embezzling it, not hiding it, and I'm not saying anybody is currently. I'm sure there's scandals in Elberton. Every place is corrupt for one reason or another. And if somebody knows some stuff about something, holla at me, because I'd love to talk about it. Like, that's what we're here for. So, I don't want to blow the top on like what Elberton should and should not do. I'm just a guy that works here. I just want to tell you guys, I see from outside in that people outside of Elberton think that there's value here and are willing to spend a shit ton of cash to see if they can monopolize it, essentially. And if they can do so, they know they will be set. So, we're valuable. Let's start acting like it. If nothing else, I think that's good enough for this little bit. Everything else, like the community of Elberton, hey, I'm proud of, let me switch gears. Let me hang it up for just a second and be like, Little League, you guys did great. Opening day was fun. My little team, we had, I coached T-ball. Posture's probably terrible this whole time. I'm sorry, guys. I get comfortable in here by myself just talking to you. I'm leaning into the mic, so make sure you can hear me. T-ball was great. Our 4 and 5 year old kids, 3, 4, and 5, I think 4 and 5 mostly. Everybody did great. The teams got there at like 8:30 in the morning. It was freezing cold. The guys that had worked on the fields all night before were showing up, barely any sleep. Everybody that worked on it, I appreciate you guys. You guys are the troopers. Everybody that got to enjoy the day owes you a little bit of, coffee or breakfast, because we appreciate all that you put into getting them fields ready and letting them kids play, because we enjoyed it. By 11 o'clock, my little crowd was wore out. I think I had 5 of them crying before they went onto the field for the second game. But we got through it. I was proud of them. We had a good time. And everybody got in it and out of it without getting hit in the face with a ball or a bat. So we're doing good. If there is anything else I'm missing, you guys just hit me on Facebook. Like, let me know what you think about what I've said. Tell me if I'm an idiot. If you think so, I'm cool with that. Give me some feedback on, if somebody from one of these companies that I've spoken about, like, again, if you're seeing a different light, if you're pushing something in a direction and this community is just, because it's going to bug, man. I'm just going to tell you, like, this community is not going to just roll over. But we've got to organize in some way, shape, or form to allow ourselves some kind of fighting chance. So here we are. I'm gonna wrap it up. I love you guys. I've been drinking coffee. I've read my kids' bedtime stories. It's gonna be a long night. I'm gonna upload this podcast for you guys. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. It's gonna be a short one, I believe. Yeah, I think I'm gonna call it. No, we're gonna call it. Okay. that was it, guys. I appreciate you. I hope if anybody, again, wants to give me some feedback, I kind of want this to be a discourse or open conversation on Facebook, and just let me know what you think. I want to know what everybody else kind of feels about what's going on. I'm not trying to take anybody's jobs away from them. I want these industries to stay. I just want everybody to do business the right way. And if there's money going to be made, I'd like for all of us to make it together. So, you guys holler at me. Y'all have a great day. I hope you have a blessed one. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your kids. Take care of your wives. Take care of your mamas and daddies. I love you. Stay blessed. That was fun. Woo. That shit was hot. Appreciate it, man. I like playing music. It's one of my favorite things to do.